the Mavericks' struggles and Luka's anticipated return. The Dallas Mavericks entered the season with high expectations, especially after last year's deep playoff run. With a duo like Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, the team was seen as a legitimate contender in the Western Conference. However, a string of injuries has derailed their campaign, leaving them barely clinging to a play-in spot. Kyrie Irving's torn ACL was the most significant blow, forcing the Mavericks to adjust on the fly. The team's depth has been tested, with key players like Anthony Davis, Derek Lively, Daniel Gafford, and Dante Exum missing time due to injuries. The lack of continuity has hurt Dallas' chemistry, making it difficult to establish a rhythm. One of the biggest storylines surrounding the Mavericks is Luka Doncic's upcoming return to Dallas after being traded. While the organization had to make a tough decision to move him, emotions will be high when he steps back into the American Airlines Center. Comparisons have already been made to LeBron James' return to Cleveland after his move to Miami, but this situation differs. Luka didn't choose to leave, he was traded. The Mavericks are now at a crossroads. With just a handful of games left in the regular season, they must decide whether to push for a playoff spot or consider shifting their focus to the NBA draft. The team's front office is aware that injuries have left them with limited firepower. However, they also recognize that they still possess one of the most talented rosters in the league if they can get healthy at the right time. Klay Thompson's leadership in a turbulent season. While injuries have defined the Mavericks season, the veteran presence of Klay Thompson has helped stabilize the locker room. The four-time NBA champion was brought in during the offseason to provide elite shooting and championship experience. However, this season hasn't unfolded as he had envisioned. Despite staying relatively healthy, Thompson has found himself in an unusual position. He was supposed to be the perfect complement to Luka and Kyrie, spacing the floor and providing clutch shooting in key moments. Instead, with the injuries piling up, he has been forced to take on a larger offensive load than expected. Head coach Jason Kidd has adjusted the offense to feature him more, but it's clear that this wasn't the role he anticipated. His father, Michael Thompson, recently described his son's situation as being in purgatory, emphasizing the frustration that comes with playing for a team that was built to compete for a title but is now struggling to stay afloat. Nevertheless, Klay has remained a consummate professional, understanding that part of being a leader means maintaining composure in difficult times. His ability to navigate this adversity will be crucial for the Mavericks. If the team does make it to the playoffs, his postseason experience could prove invaluable. However, if Dallas falls short, questions will arise about whether Thompson's long-term future remains with the franchise. Trade speculations. Will the Mavericks move Anthony Davis? One of the biggest uncertainties surrounding the Mavericks is the future of Anthony Davis. The superstar big man was acquired in a blockbuster trade, but injuries have once again limited his availability. When healthy, Davis is one of the most dominant two-way players in the league, capable of anchoring a defense while providing elite scoring. However, his inability to stay on the court has left the Mavericks in a precarious position. Speculation has already begun regarding whether Dallas might shop Davis in the offseason. Some analysts believe the Mavericks should cut their losses and explore trade options to build a more durable, balanced roster around Kyrie Irving and their other core pieces. Others argue that moving Davis now would be premature, as his presence, when healthy, gives the team a legitimate chance at contending. The Mavericks front office, led by general manager Nico Harrison, has remained tight-lipped about their plans. While there are no official indications that Davis is on the trade block, history has shown that anything is possible in the NBA. Harrison has already proven that he's willing to make bold moves, as seen with the Luka trade. If an opportunity arises to bring in a more reliable star or a package of young assets, Dallas might have to consider it. The Mavericks' playoff dilemma: push or tank? With the regular season winding down, the Mavericks find themselves in a difficult position. Currently sitting at the 10th seed, they are fighting for a spot in the play-in tournament. However, their long-term outlook presents an interesting dilemma. Should they go all in for the playoffs or shift their focus to the NBA draft? If Dallas makes the playoffs, They will likely face a daunting first-round matchup against a fully healthy Oklahoma City Thunder squad. Despite defeating the Thunder 3 times this season, those wins came when the Mavericks were healthier. Entering a playoff series with a depleted roster would be an uphill battle, and an early exit seems likely. On the other hand, if they miss the playoffs, they would secure a lottery pick, which could be a valuable asset for the future. The Mavericks don't have many first-round picks in upcoming drafts due to previous trades, so securing a top prospect could help reshape the team's future. Internally, the team remains divided on the best course of action. Some within the organization believe that making the playoffs, regardless of how far they go, will help build the team's chemistry and culture. Others think that preserving assets and aiming for a high draft pick might be the smarter long-term play. One thing is certain: the final stretch of the season will determine the franchise's immediate and long-term direction. Kyrie Irving's future and the Mavericks' championship window. One of the most pressing questions for the Mavericks is the future of Kyrie Irving. Before his devastating ACL injury, Irving was playing at an All-NBA level, providing the scoring and playmaking balance Dallas needed alongside Luka Doncic. Many believed he was on track for a max contract extension, and despite the injury, the sentiment within the organization still leans toward keeping him long-term. Nico Harrison has been vocal about Irving's importance to the team, calling him the heart and soul of the Mavericks. Given Irving's track record of unpredictability, there were initial concerns about whether he would remain committed to Dallas, but he has been a stabilizing presence since arriving. The front office is expected to offer him a long-term deal, even if his recovery timeline suggests he won't be back until after the All-Star break next season. That said, offering a max contract to a player recovering from an ACL tear is a gamble. The Mavericks need to ensure they have a strong supporting cast in place to avoid relying too heavily on Irving's return. If they extend him but fail to build a deep roster, they could find themselves in a similar situation next year, struggling with depth when injuries hit. Luka Doncic's emotional return to Dallas. While the Mavericks have been dealing with roster uncertainty, one game looms large on the calendar: Luka Doncic's return to Dallas on April 9th. This will be one of the most highly anticipated games of the season, drawing comparisons to LeBron James' first game back in Cleveland after leaving for Miami. Unlike LeBron, Doncic didn't leave by choice. He was traded in a move that stunned the NBA world. 4 years, Doncic was the face of the Mavericks, leading them to the NBA Finals and solidifying himself as one of the league's brightest stars. His trade sent shockwaves through the fanbase, and his return will be an emotional moment for everyone involved. The Mavericks are expected to honor him with a tribute, but it's unclear how the fans will react. While many still appreciate what he did for the franchise, there's lingering resentment over how things ended. Some fans feel betrayed, while others believe he was unfairly forced out. Regardless of the reception, this game will serve as a major storyline heading into the playoffs, with both Luka and the Mavericks looking to prove they made the right decision. The Western Conference playoff picture and Dallas' place in it. The Western Conference remains as competitive as ever, and the Mavericks' struggles have highlighted how difficult it is to maintain contender status. The Oklahoma City Thunder, Denver Nuggets, and Minnesota Timberwolves have emerged as top threats, while teams like the Phoenix Suns and Golden State Warriors are fighting for their own playoff positioning. For Dallas, the path forward is uncertain. If they make the play-in, they'll need to get through teams like the Lakers and Kings just to earn a playoff spot. Even if they do, their injury-plagued roster will likely struggle against a top seed in the first round. Long-term, the Mavericks need to make critical decisions about their roster construction. Do they continue to build around Irving and Davis, hoping for better injury luck? Or do they look to shake things up in the offseason, potentially moving a star to gain more depth? No matter what, the upcoming months will be crucial for Dallas. Whether they push for a deep playoff run or start retooling for the future, the franchise's direction hinges on the decisions made this offseason. For now, the Mavericks remain in limbo, balancing hope, uncertainty, and the weight of expectations.